Hey everybody! Hope everybody's doing well and doing great. Happy Saturday! Today I have the weekend off from baby because today Ling Ling's off and yeah. Well, so I promised, or I kind of not promised, but I had mentioned that I would do a story time. Yeah, and so today is Saturday. I had my COVID test Thursday. So Friday, Saturday, day 2. I think it is day 2 after the shot, and I'm not doing so good. I'm not doing so bad. Yeah, thank goodness for that. So yeah, so story time today. Gonna just spill a little tea on what happened during the time when Miss Karen got married. Let's see, I was in a relationship from 92, was it 92 or 91? Yeah, 91. I was about 17 in 91, and I was with my first child's daddy, and some of you know him. If you don't, his name is Danny or Danilo Nono, and we were together for a short time. I'd say about 2 years. So we had a child together, our firstborn son, and I named him Danilo Jr. In 92 I had him, I was 18. So time went on to 94, and things weren't working out so great. We were so young. I was 18, he was 22, and we were still young as hell, didn't know what we wanted in life. I knew I wanted to be with him, but I don't think he knew what he wanted. So in 94, things wasn't progressing, and my mother stepped in. She was frustrated because we didn't get the ball rolling. She was raised hardcore Catholic. She was raised by the Catholic nuns back in her day, and went through it all with the whole boarding school and everything. So she was very much against the lifestyle that I was in, having a out of wedlock baby and all. So she was so frustrated. She said, "Dang it, get your life together. You need to start over. I'm sending you back home," which is her place, or I was originally born to, in Chuuk. And she sent me away. I was 18, just had my first baby. My baby was 2 years old at the time. She sent me away. It was heartbreaking, heart-wrenching for me, being sent away from my son. So we had to have him move in with his dad and his family, which he did at the time. And then I moved away back to Chuuk. This is in Micronesia. And when I went there, or before I went there, my mother had already had spoken with her one of her cousins, because my dad had passed away in 94, and her cousin happened to come to the funeral, and they were already chit-chatting and blah blah blah. Karen is going through these issues, and so they arranged, the cousin said, "My husband runs a construction company, and he has a bunch of employees that he brought over from the Philippines, overseas, and so I know somebody," and blah blah blah. So they had already arranged for me to meet up with this person that they had in mind, which my mother's cousin had in mind. So when I got to Chuuk, my mother kept tabs on me and kept tabs with the cousin, and so the cousin followed through with what they had originally had discussed and planned while they were at my mother's place during my father's funeral process. And I'm spraying myself because it's hella hot today, so I got a spritzer here with water. Oh, and the fan's right in front of me. So when I got to Chuuk, the cousin, my mother's cousin, had she came down to meet with me. I was staying at my mother's place. It was like a summer home for us, kind of like a vacation place for us that my mother had. She had that place built back in the, was it the 60s? Back in the 60s, my dad had purchased the land and the materials to build the place, and so they had this house there, and her sister, her youngest sister, had been living there with her family for years and years. So when I went back to Chuuk, I had stayed there with my mother's sister and her family, the sister's family. So I was there, and here came my mother's cousin and visited me there, and she said, hey, why don't you come and spend the week with me? She lives in another town about 20 minutes away. I was like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. Mind you, I was only 8, well, I had turned 20 at the time. I was 20 already. So I was young and dumb. So I just went along with everything. Okay, whatever. So we went. We went to her place. She lived way up higher in the mountainous region. So we went there, spent the week there, and while I was there, she told me, so tomorrow we're gonna go down and spend the day at my husband's work site area at his he had this little construction what do you call it, his little business area where they had the offices, the barracks where his employees were living at the time, everything. So she had planned out an outing where I would go with her and spend the day there at the construction business area for the day. So we went, we hung out, and then it got to a few hours later had gone by, and it was about maybe 3 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon. All the construction workers were getting back from work and back to the barracks where we were situated, and they're getting their dinner set up, and everybody's coming back, and and she goes, oh, by the way, the person I wanted you to meet is on his way, so just be cordial and whatever, and I want you to meet him. So I was like, oh, okay. So we're sitting out there on the balcony out there, and here comes the guy. He's walking alongside another guy. So there's 2 people walking towards the barracks where we're sitting, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, it must be the old guy on the left. And I'm thinking, oh, that must be him, because and then but 2 of them were old. I was 20 at the time, so 2 of them were looking old, but the older person I thought would be the one that she was setting me up with. So I'm like, I kind of look him up and down, the older guy, and not really paying much attention to the other guy. So the older guy walks right past, and the other old guy walks towards us, and he's like, oh, hi. He sticks out his hand and shakes my hand. He's like, hi to my mother's cousin, which I call auntie. And when he shakes my hand, he says, I know about you, I've been hearing about you, and it's so nice to meet you. And I was like, I'm 20, I'm snobby, and I'm kind of being, and I'm trying to be nice, but at the same time I'm stuck up. I'm looking at him up and down. I'm like, this old guy, I'm 20. He's a lot older. So I was like, oh yeah, I shake his hand. And not much was said after that. So he goes on about his business, and I'm sitting there with my auntie. And then that's the end of that. I continued to spend the rest of the week with her. And later on, or as I'm spending the week with her, there's a phone call at her house. So one of the helpers at her house comes knocking on the door where I'm in. I'm inside of a bedroom. She's like, Karen, there's a phone call for you. Somebody is on the phone for you. So I pick up the phone, and it's the guy. So we're talking, getting to know each other, and then I ask him, how old are you? And he goes, oh, I'm 35. Comes to find out, he's actually 36. So I didn't understand the point of telling me he was 35. He could have just been honest. he was like bluffing a little bit, a year off. And so from that point on, we continued on doing phone exchange conversations, and I ended up, finishing the week of spending time with my aunt, and they took me back to my mother's sister's place. And it's actually my mother's place, but because my mother's sister's been living there forever, I just say it's my mother's sister's place. I go back there to my mother's sister's place, and then things are getting deeper between me and this other guy. And so to the point where he wants to have a legit marriage proposal or engagement proposal with my family. And in Chuuk, it's different because you don't get down on one knee, hold an engagement ring, and propose to your interest. You actually gotta go up front, get with you have to schedule it so that the bride, the lady's family has to be gathered before the man comes to bring the engagement news. And there's no engagement ring involved. And what they do is they bring in a lot of food, like coconuts, bananas, taros, a lot of land food to the lady's family. So that's what they did. So my mother's cousin, being the one who was kind of representing him as being his only family, they come to where I'm at my mother's sister's place, and they bring gifts of coconuts, bananas, taros, and all that jazz, fish, and so they bring it, and then we sit down, get situated, and then the guy, he starts talking about his engagement proposal. And so everybody, my side of the family accepted. So they're like, yay, they're getting engaged, blah, blah, blah. So then things started getting even more serious. And then I asked my mother's sister, hey, what would you feel if I were to ask you if the guy could come and move in with me? And she was like, oh, yeah, just have a talk with my husband and stuff, because they were kind of like hardcore religious. They weren't Catholic, but they were Protestants. So my auntie's, my mother's sister's husband actually agreed to it, surprisingly, because they were also against living under the same roof before getting married. But they agreed to it, so he moved in. And then by then it was about probably December or or January, I can't remember. But anyway, he was living with me there, and then by May we got married. May of 1995. We got married in court. We never had a big wedding in church. We just had a basic marriage in court. And I remember my mother's brother attended, as well as my first cousin, she attended, and my husband's camaraderie from his workplace, he attended. So all these people that attended were like witnesses to our marriage at the court. And before we got married, we went ring shopping. And so this is the ring. He has it's a ring set that came together. He has the same wedding band. I still have my wedding band till today. The funny thing is that when we got married, the judge told him to put the wedding band on my right finger, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that rings were supposed to go on the left finger, but it was placed on my right finger, and I thought to myself, that judge dang gone jinx my marriage. So I felt to myself like, I think this marriage is gonna go down in the dumps one day, because it already started off on the wrong foot. But anyway, so we got married. We had our little what do you call it, celebration afterwards. It was just a little barbecue with the family, nothing fancy and nothing big, reception. We had a little reception afterwards at our place where I was staying. And then our marriage life was alright. He's a Gemini, by the way, and I'm an Aquarius. We got along alright. It was a struggle though, because we kept moving. We were constantly moving from one home to another, and it was non-stop. So we moved from the place where I was staying into a place where my mother's uncle was living, and that was a very short span of time. Then from there we tried moving to my husband's barracks, and it wasn't very long either until we moved again to another place, more decent area that had indoor plumbing, because all these places were ghetto as hell. But we finally moved to another place that had indoor plumbing, where we could wash dishes properly indoors, shower and do your business indoors, on a toilet indoor that flushed. Yeah. Then something happened with his employment. While he was employed with my mother's cousin's husband, their relative was running another business and wanted him to work for them. So what happened was, they kind of breached contract with my mom's cousin's husband's construction business, and he kind of just picked up and left and went to work with the other person, which involved us moving. So from Chuuk we moved to Pohnpei, because there was another up-and-coming project going on over there, where they were gonna start building a phase, another branch of this person's shopping center, city. So in Chuuk he has a shopping plaza, and he wanted to do another branch out in Pohnpei. So we moved so that my husband could help in the construction over there, because what my husband does is he is legally we're still married, but we have been separated for years. But what he does is he's a civil engineer, and he does blueprints. So he's really skilled in doing blueprints and all that for construction businesses. So they really needed his help. So he laid out all the plans and everything for the new construction site going on. And I was pregnant at the time, so I ended up giving birth there in Pohnpei to my second child, my daughter Flora Lynn, yay, in '96. And then from that point on, we were still living in Pohnpei. And 6 months later, after I just gave birth, I got pregnant again. And so I decided not to give birth in Pohnpei because it was difficult. It was very difficult. I thought I'd do well. I thought I would do better than giving birth in Chuuk, but it wasn't as great as I thought it would be. So I decided, no, this time I'm gonna go back with my mom to Maui and give birth there. So I gave birth in '97 in Maui to my third child, my baby Florante Jr. Named him after his dad. And shortly after, I was thinking, okay, so I gotta get back to Pohnpei because I already gave birth. And I called him, the husband, and he said, no, we're going back to Chuuk, so don't come to Pohnpei. When you come back, come to Chuuk, because I'm going to be back in Chuuk. I don't know what happened. But yeah, so apparently he got transferred back to Chuuk. But he was still employed by the second person, the one that hired him to work in Pohnpei. So, okay, so I went back to Chuuk, and life was a struggle, let me tell you. We did live in a proper place where there was indoor plumbing, because that was very important for the two babies, you know. And we had AC and everything because it's hella hot out there. So we stayed there in Chuuk with the two babies until they were attending school. We sent them to the best school that they had to offer, which was a private school. And I'll tell you, it wasn't up to par as far as school education goes here in the States, but that was the best that they had to offer. It was a Seventh-day Adventist school. All the other schools was downer, and that's the only school where they taught English. And so that's the school we sent them to until they had reached the age of 5 and 4. Because while I was in Chuuk, or while I was in Maui giving birth to my last baby, I was getting paperwork done at the immigration office for my husband, you know, so that he could get his green card so we could go back to Maui, because I had no intentions of staying in Chuuk. So while I was back in Chuuk, I had received a letter from the immigration saying, your submission for the green card visa is now in the middle of being processed. We need you, if you're still interested, we need you to provide proof of establishment of residency in the States. Otherwise, your application will be deemed your application will be deemed not, you know, they won't qualify it anymore. So I said, oh my God, we need to get this thing rolling. And that's when my husband told me, you gotta go. You definitely gotta go. If you don't go, I'm not gonna get my green card. And I was like, how am I gonna go? We have 2 babies, and you know, I have nowhere to go. When I go back there, I can't just. My mom had passed away by that time, so it was just my brother there living there, and there was no way in hell he was gonna have me drop off at his doorstep and be like, hey. So I said, oh my God, how am I gonna do this? But I did it. I took my 2 kids, we took off, headed for Maui with nowhere to go. So we ended up, I took everything we needed, all our paperwork and everything, all my baby's necessities. By then my children were 4 and 5 years old, I believe. Yeah, 4 and 5. So the first stop from the airport, we went straight to the homeless shelter on Waiale Road in Wailuku. And I begged and pleaded with whoever that person was, the person in charge there, the management at the facility, and I asked him, I have nowhere to go, I have no family. So they said, we got there, it's like 6:30 in the morning, and finally by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they decided, okay, this bitch don't got nowhere to go. She got 2 babies, so we're gonna have to get her a room. And we all know that staying in homeless shelters takes like months to get on a waiting list. It takes months before they can take you in, but because I was sitting there all morning and the kids with me at my side, they said, we just gotta give it to her. So the guy Patrick, I remember his name. I used to hold on to his business card because I said one day I'll look for him and thank him, but I know his name is Patrick, and I don't know if I still have the business card, but if anything, I will look him up online and see if I could find him to thank him in person one day. But anyway, they found us a 2-bedroom little apartment there. We went and we stayed, and then it wasn't long after that I called up my best friend, Mary. I want to thank you, Mary, for everything you did for us. She helped us get out of there and placed us in her little ohana. And it was difficult for her because she had her husband there and her 2 babies, as well as her husband's parents and her mom. And so it was very difficult for her squeezing me in there. And I felt really bad. I didn't want to disrespect her in-laws or her husband in any kind of way whatsoever. So as I was living with Mary, I quickly thought, I gotta get the ball rolling. I don't want to be a burden to anybody. So I quickly got a place, which was a studio up in Wailuku, up on Central Avenue, right the road across just behind Ooka supermarket. So that's where we lived. And so ever since, my husband was helping us while we were situated there at the studio up until then. I don't know, it seems like after he found out that I was living on my own, he stopped supporting us, which was strange. And my friends were telling me, you know what, maybe he has another wahine. That could possibly be. I don't know, nobody tells me anything, so I'm just going off of what my friends are telling me and thinking, okay, well, fine, he doesn't want to support us or nothing, keep in touch with us. It is what it is. So I went on with my life, and I got into some relationships. I got in a relationship with another person that lasted for about 5 years after that. So I met this person in 2004. Yeah, so 5, 6, 7. So 2009 we split up, and I've been on my own ever since. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, that was our marriage life. That's my how I got married story time. And I still talk to the husband every now and then on Facebook. We message each other on instant messaging. But yeah, look at the time, 30 minutes, my goodness. So okay guys, I hope this was a fun story time. That's how we got married. And also what do you call it, we're still married legally, as far as I know. Some people tell me, you never know if he got married over there and got nullified. You got nullified without your knowledge and everything. But I don't know. I've tried a couple of times through what's it called, legal aid, to find out how I could process divorce papers, because there's no point in staying married. I've been separated from him for so many years. But I don't know, we'll see what happens with that. And then, yeah. So next story time, I'll think about another topic.